Have you ever woken up with a throbbing pain behind your eye and you've shrugged it off because it's just a headache? You pop or paracetamol, you grab your cup of coffee and you push on. You show up to work, you smile through clenched, and you tell yourself, keep going. What if I told you that head pain, it was never just, what if that pain was a message? And ignoring it is one of the reasons why it keeps coming back. Mm. Today's episode is for the unaware coper. You just keep coping. You're unaware of what's going on. You just keep coping, pushing on. This episode is for the silent struggler, the person who is powering through the pain, not realizing they are fighting the wrong battle. Let me share a story with you. Let's call this person Miss TMA. Miss TMA is in her 30s and she works in retail. TMA is that friend that shows up for you even when she's in a situation express, even when her head is pounding. She shows up for you. She shows up even in difficult situation that she finds challenging. She still shows up. That's Miss TMA. Even with her head pounding, her go-to solutions tends to be ibuprofen. She'll just take an ibuprofen and she'll drink more water and go on with her life. Miss TMA has been battling head pain for most of her life. Sometimes she experiences pain twice a week or even sometimes more in a month. You know what? She never calls it a migraine. She never calls it a migraine because she never knew. Nobody ever told her that her head pain could be a migraine. She never even heard of the word before. She never tracked her symptoms. She never seen a doctor. She just happily just coping. Coping. Here is the problem with that. Every time Miss TMA is pushing through an attack, she's not building resilience, my opinion anyway. Instead, she's building resistance. She's building resistance to awareness, to rest, and eventually to treatment. And guess what? She's not alone. Did you know that 12% of people who live with migraine are diagnosed? That means there are millions out there living in pain. They're living in pain without the name of it, just like Miss TMA. Let's talk about what happens when you don't name your pain. First, it hides. It doesn't scream, oh, I'm a neurological condition. It doesn't scream that. Instead, it whispers, oh, you overreact. Oh, you're just tired. You're just being lazy. And so we go quiet. We just downplay the pain and just keep it moving. And you know what? Behind the scenes, migraine is building layer by layer, day by day. Migraine is building. And here is the most scariest part. The more you ignore migraine, the more it learns how to stay. That's how something occasional then becomes chronic. I have an episode where I go more in details about this process. It's called chronification, this process I'm talking to you about. For now, let's sit with this. When we treat head pain like a minor inconvenience, we end up delaying healing. We normalize suffering. We unconsciously are training our brain. We're training our brain to think that this level of pain is okay. And it's not. It's not okay. You're never meant to be in such a pain. You're never meant to survive on autopilot. Now imagine this. What if you understood your pain? What if you could name it, you could track it, you could predict it, and voila, you could prevent it? That is the power of awareness. That is the first step to healing. When you learn the difference between a headache and a migraine, you'll be saying to yourself, why did someone tell me about this soon? Why didn't they tell me this sooner enough? Why? I want to be that someone for you today. I want to be that someone for you today because once you know, you can start to do things very different. And it starts with just one step, one small step. Find out whether you have a headache or a migraine. I have an assessment that you can take, and it's free, and you can take that assessment, can find out what your profile is, your migraine profile is, and whether you have a migraine or a headache. It might just change everything for you. The link is in the show notes in the description below. So going back to Miss TMA, what happened to Miss TMA, you might wonder? Well, Miss TMA took the quiz, the assessment, and finally realized that she was not dealing with headache. She did have migraine without aura. Her symptoms showed that she had migraine without aura, and she had this type of migraine tends to go on undiagnosed many times, just like Miss TMA. Having that information, she started to track her symptoms, track her attack, started to notice patterns, and also discovered what her triggers were. She got on the plan and she started following the plan with the help of a healthcare professional. She's not cured, but guess what? She's no longer stuck. She's no longer stuck in Pain Express. No. Instead of her bracing herself for the next attack, being all anxious and living in fear, in complete fear of her next attack, what she's doing is she's building a lifestyle that protects her peace. And that's what success looks like. Not perfection, rather progress with power. So what happens to those who don't take that first step? Well, they carry on guessing. They spend time on painkillers that never work, continuously taking different types of medication that only makes the symptoms even worse. They lose hours, they lose days, and sometimes even years. They lose years to pain that they don't understand. They never understood. They miss birthdays, cancel plans. They say no to promotion. And this is not because they are weak. It's more because, sadly, the pain is winning. The pain is winning. And the most annoying part is that each time it wins, it has the audacity to stay longer. Annoying. And this is what we call chronification. When the migraine stops being something that happens occasional and then becomes part of your everyday life. Let's pause there. I encourage you to go and watch that episode about chronification. If this episode stirs up something in you, if you're starting to wonder whether what you've been calling just a headache might be something more, then you're not alone. You're not weak, and you're definitely not dramatic. You are simply unaware for now. And you know what? Awareness is really powerful. Awareness is the first step. And power is what we build from here on. We build power. We take that power, our power back from pain, living in a victim mentality, surrendering to pain. I'm encouraging you to take ownership of your healing and take the first step to awareness. Know what type of head pain you're dealing with. Take the assessment and share this episode, share this with someone that you've known to say, oh, I just have a headache. Or they say, oh, I'm just fine. I'm fine. It's just a headache. Or they say things like, oh, it's just stress. After this project, I'll be fine. But then when you look at them, you just say, oh, they don't really look that good. They are just barely holding it together. Remember, every fixer's journey begins with a choice to stop coping and really start becoming more aware, start knowing what is actually going on in your body. So check out that episode, how a headache becomes a habit. How a headache becomes a habit when migraine crosses over. It's more common than you think. It's not your fault. There is still time to change your story.